7 years back, my life followed a script that felt safe, almost mechanical. I thought I was satisfied, convinced I had stability. My wife, Sarah, stood at the center of it all. I trusted she shared my dreams, that she was my partner and confidant. But one evening shattered that belief beyond repair. I remember the scene as if it were carved into my memory. The kitchen lights were low, summer humidity clung to the air. The faint clatter of a spoon against a cup broke the silence as she stirred her tea, her gaze fixed anywhere but me. Her expression was hollow, distant. And then she said it, words so sharp they cut through me like glass. "I wish you'd just disappear." There was no raised voice, no argument. Just a flat, chilling statement. For a heartbeat, I thought I misheard, but the emptiness in her eyes left no room for doubt. My first instinct was to fight back, to plead, to salvage what we had. But her silence spoke louder than any words. The woman I thought I knew was already gone. The love, the closeness, the feeling of being chosen, it had all drained away. Piece by piece, I began to vanish too. Not in body but in spirit. I still went through the motions, work, home, sleep, but inside, I detached. I stopped wasting my energy on her moods, her barbed remarks, the endless small wars. Instead, I invested in something else, myself. I left before she stirred in the mornings and came home long after she was asleep. In those quiet hours, I began building a new version of me. At first, it was just survival. Soon, it became transformation. I sought out challenges that once intimidated me. I poured myself into learning, into travel, into conversations that expanded my mind beyond anything I'd known. Maps turned into memories, strangers into allies, mentors, and friends. I sharpened my skills, grew wealth, and created a life Sarah could never have imagined. She thought her words had crushed me. She carried herself as if cutting me down was her victory. She laughed louder, flaunted her freedom, convinced she'd proven I was nothing without her. But she misunderstood. My silence wasn't defeat, it was preparation. 7 years passed. 7 years of rebuilding. 7 years of stepping into a version of myself that bore no resemblance to the man she discarded. And then, fate brought us face to face again. I had returned to my hometown for business, not nostalgia. Outside a cafe, I was skimming through documents when I felt it, that heavy, unmistakable stare. I glanced up, and there she was across the street. Frozen. Her eyes widened, her lips parted, her face stripped of its mask. The man she'd wished away wasn't gone. He had become someone unrecognizable. Stronger. Sharper. Untouchable. She stood still, as if the ground beneath her had opened. Years of excuses, every lie she told herself to justify leaving, collapsed in her silence. Slowly, almost against her will, she stepped closer, drawn toward me. "Daniel," she breathed, my name trembling in her throat. I met her gaze, calm, unreadable. She searched my face for traces of the man she once knew, but he no longer existed. He'd been reforged. Then another man appeared at her side, her new partner, I assumed. He stiffened, sensing the tension, but I didn't even acknowledge him. He was irrelevant, a background detail compared to the storm in Sarah's eyes. You've changed," she stammered. "You look successful." A faint smile tugged at my lips. "There's a lot you never saw." Something flickered in her expression, admiration tangled with regret. Her hand trembled, her voice faltered as she turned to her companion, then back to me, suddenly aware of how small he seemed beside me. "What have you been doing all this time?" she asked, her tone unsteady. I leaned casually against a lamp post, giving her no answer. Silence was enough. And in that silence she understood. The years hadn't broken me. They had forged me. Her companion shifted uneasily, realizing his insignificance. Sarah's composure began to fracture. Her voice softened, fragile now. I didn't realize what I threw away." The confession hung in the air, but it held no power anymore. Once, it might have pulled me back. Now, it was hollow. I met her eyes and spoke evenly. I survived without you. The words struck her harder than any shout could. She flinched, not out of fear of me, but of the life she had abandoned, and the certainty she could never reclaim it. You've built all this without me, she whispered. I nodded. Without your doubts. Without your judgment. Without your betrayal. And I'm stronger for it. Her lips quivered. For a fleeting second, I saw a shadow of the woman I had once loved, the one who had promised forever. But that woman was gone. What remained was a shell, regretful, broken, desperate. She lowered her head. I don't know what to say. You don't need to, I replied steady. This was never about words. It's about truth. I built a life while you chased illusions. I became stronger, happier, unstoppable. And you learned too late what you let go of. Her silence was the answer. The power she once had over me had dissolved, not through revenge, but through the life I built beyond her reach. As she walked away, head bowed, I felt no anger, no triumph. Only peace. 7 years had led to this moment, proof that the greatest form of revenge isn't retaliation, but thriving in spite of those who tried to diminish you. The man she wished would vanish was gone. In his place stood someone far greater.